The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
You are now tuned in to the PA Power Podcast, featuring Jeff Upson and Eric Knopsnyder. PA Power Wrestling. PA Power Wrestling. Pennsylvania is wrestling.
Welcome into the PA Power Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Upson, joined as always by Eric Knopsnyder, and we are going to preview the Escape the Rock tournament. But first, we got some breaking news for you, Eric, and this is pretty significant when we're talking about the state scene here. Eric Hong, who's now at North Allegheny, was ruled eligible by the PIAA. This was a huge turnaround from before, when on December 5th, the WPIAL ruled him ineligible. Eric, of course, he had been at Kiski Prep, and then prior to that, he was at Georgetown Prep in Maryland, where he was a national prep champion. So he's now in his senior year, and he's at North Allegheny, where he was originally from, the Pittsburgh area, the Riverview area of the city. And he can compete now. So he's going to compete this weekend, as far as what I've been told by his father, and he's going to be ready to go this weekend. So this is going to be a great opening test for him and his first time donning a North Allegheny singlet.
Yeah, and it's good news for him. Good to be able to see him get back out on the mat and compete. You hate to see anybody lose an entire year like that. So it is good to see that the PIAA has ruled in his favor, and he'll be able to get out there and show what he can do.
Yeah, and we don't want to open up the entire discussion on transfers and all that nonsense, but I will say that from the personal standpoint, I thought for sure Eric should be eligible to compete. I was surprised that the WPIAL did rule against him, considering all the circumstances, which we're not going to get into. But the bottom line is Eric can now compete for North Allegheny, and he'll be competing at 160 at least to start. From what I'm told, he's going to be wrestling 160 at Escape the Rock, where he was a runner-up there last year. He was a runner-up at Escape the Rock. He lost to Jared Verclaren in the finals. It was an overtime match, great match. He was pretty disappointed in himself, having lost to Verclaren, but he'll have a chance for redemption. But 160 is no easy weight class. Actually, none of the weight classes at Escape the Rock are easy.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, there's nothing easy to Escape the Rock, as you said, but definitely good to have him there, bulk up the field even more.
Now, after we preview, a little bit later, we're going to talk to Northampton head coach Seth Lisa. Seth Lisa has been with the Northampton program for quite a number of years as a competitor and as a coach. And we're just going to pick his brain a little bit about the Northampton Concrete Kids. They were just coming off a pretty big CV Winter Duels Championship, where they defeated some of the top teams in the state, including Cumberland Valley, Boyertown, and Erie McDowell. So definitely a good weekend for them. But they turn around. They have Becca tonight, January 11th. They have Bethlehem Catholic, the number one team in the state. They got them tonight. Northampton comes in at number 5. And then they turn right around and they go to Escape the Rock, which is a Saturday-Sunday tournament. So, yeah, pretty tough week for the Concrete Kids in Northampton. So I'll be looking forward to talking to Coach Lisa and figuring out how everyone's doing there. But without ado, let's just go through, Eric, the weights here at Escape the Rock. Starting off at 106, a familiar name is Kurt McHenry from St. Paul's, who we got to see at Powerade this year. Absolutely destroy the competition. He's won everything under the sun, and he's the number one seed here at the Escape the Rock.
Yeah, no surprise with him being the top seed. As you said, getting a look at him firsthand at Powerade, he was just put together so much offense, really difficult to stop. But another deep field here, as we talked about, with quite a few Pennsylvania guys here in the pre-seeds.
Now, it's interesting because McHenry competed in the Escape the Rock last year. He was not a champion. He finished 5th. He lost to Brandon Cassis from Parkland in the semifinals, then dropped a match to Hanson Ashworth from Malvern Prep, and then finished 5th. So he's not even a champion here, but clearly there's a lot that's changed from last year to this year for Kurt. Like you said, Eric, some other big names. In fact, the top ranked wrestler in Class AA is going to be here, Caden Cassidy from McCourt. And Eric, this is going to be his first tournament of the season. He's competed in some dual meets, but he has not competed in any tournaments such as the Powerade or King of Mountain. So this is going to be a huge test for Caden, getting back on the mat and really seeing what he's going to be made of.
Absolutely. He had an off-season injury that we talked to him at the media day, and originally the plan was that he was hoping to be back for Powerade, but talking with his father, he said that, the doctor kind of recommended to take it a little bit easier, not have that full-on stress on it of, a 5-match day early on. So they decided to hold him out of the tournaments, as you said, just go with duels. And now he's ready to go here to Escape the Rock, and we'll see, how he stacks up and whether that top ranking is justified.
Now, Caden is the 6th seed. The 5th seed is Nate Smith from Bishop McDevitt, who's also a freshman. He was a King of the Mountain champion. We got to see him at Powerade as well. He comes in ranked number 2 in the state behind Cassidy, so they're number 1 and 2, but number 5 and 6 in the seedings here at the Escape to Rock. Another guy, I think there's a pair of Council Rock wrestlers here, Council Rock South. Max Mendes, who we've seen throughout this season, he's a solid wrestler. He won the Hurricane Classic. He's going to be competing at 106. And Luke Lucerine from Council Rock North has just dropped down to 106 from 113. And Dalton Harkins. These last two are pretty top incoming freshmen for the area. Dalton Harkins is from Malvern, and he'll be competing here. So 106 should be a fun one, but I think Kirk McHenry is clearly the favorite.
Absolutely. From what we saw him, he just looks like he's on a different level right now. We'll see what the competition has in store for him here. But, yeah, definitely the favorite.
At 113, the top seed is Jarrett Lane from Southern Columbia. Jarrett Lane, of course, is been around for a long time now. He's a state runner-up. He was a runner-up here last year at the Escape to Rock at 106 pounds. He lost in the finals to Brandon Cassis from Parkland. So Jarrett's coming in at 113, where he's ranked number 1 in the state in AA as a junior. Number 2 is Jacob Dunlop from Belle Vernon, who I feel like I've seen like 6 times this year already. He's every tournament I go to, Belle Vernon's there, and Escape the Rock is no different. So Jacob last year, he competed in the Escape the Rock, and he finished in 4th place. So I just saw him last weekend win a Westmoreland County championship. He was a runner-up at Powerade. So clearly a guy who knows a little bit something about winning.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are some interesting seeds there. You got a couple other Pennsylvania guys there. Matt Wild at number 6 from Boyertown, and another Bishop McDevitt guy, Chase Shields at number 7.
Yeah, and Matt Wild, he's from Boyertown. We saw him compete. He was a runner-up at the King of the Mountain. Shane Hansen-Ashworth from Malvern, like I said earlier, he was 3rd last year at 106. He's moved up to 113. Chase Shields, another one, as you said, a state medalist from a year ago. Jacob Downing from North Allegheny. This is their first year that North Allegheny will be making the trip out. And they're going to be here, and Jacob Downing's a big part of that. He was a state qualifier a year ago. A.J. Burkhart from Athens. This is our first time, at least my first time, seeing A.J. Burkhart compete in Pennsylvania. He was a New York state champion a few years back. He's going to be competing for Athens, and he'll be at 113 pounds. And, there's a lot of depth here at 113 pounds.
Oh, definitely. Whenever you've got guys like Logan Niehaus of Northampton at number 11 seed, that's a pretty good tournament.
Looking at 120, the big name here is Patrick Glory from Delbarton, New Jersey. He's pretty solid, Eric. I've seen him a number of times in his career, whether that's at Powerade or Super 32, where he knocked off Julian Cle Bove. And Patrick Glory is the top seed here for Delbarton. Number 2 is Manny Parker, who was a runner-up here last year. This is where Maddie lost to Julian Cle Bove in the finals. This was also what ended up being a state finals match as well. So Maddie Parker, who's a senior, he's going to come in and look to upseed that top spot there with Patrick Glory. And Matty's one of those guys that I love watching him wrestle. He's very confident. He's very good on his feet. He can really tear you apart if he wants to. And I'm excited to see how he competes up here against some of the top guys.
Yeah, there are not quite as many PA names at the top here. You've got Aiden Burke of Council Rock North coming in at number 5, and Logan Macri of Cannon McMillan at number 7.
Yeah, Logan's a Powerade runner-up, and he's number 7 that escaped the Rock. So that's kind of interesting to see. And Logan's obviously the one who knocked off Bo Bartlett, who is considered one of the top guys in the nation. Aiden Burke from Council Rock North, he's been banged up a little bit this season. He's a senior. He's finally back in the lineup for Council Rock North. He's a guy who he can pin anybody. He's if you've never seen him wrestle, he's really good from the top position and from his feet. He likes to go feet to back. And I in fact, he pinned Logan Macri at the state tournament last year, I think in under a minute. So, yeah, he's pretty solid. And then of course you got a freshman like Tyler Martin from Bishop McDevitt, who's going to be looking to make some noise. We saw him at the King Mountain, perform well. Luke Resnick from, O&J Roberts. He's a senior coming in at the 11th seed. So, again, not as many Pennsylvania guys in the top half. There's several few guys from Legacy Christian and St. Peter's Prep, 2 guys that I'm not very familiar with whatsoever. But I do know Patrick Glory, and I know he's tough, so he's got to be the favorite here.
Yeah, I would think so. But as you said, Manny Parker, it'll be interesting to see how he does against some of this top competition and how he can fare at the Escape the Rock.
Now, 126 is going to feature sophomore Julian Cle Bove of Northampton, and we're going to have a chance to talk to his head coach, Seth Lisa, here in a little bit. Julian's a returning state champion. He's undefeated this year so far, and a big reason for that is because he won the Beast of the East title, and he did that by beating Nicky Ramo from Hanover Park, New Jersey, and that was a huge match for him. I don't know if Julian's ever beat him before. I know they've met. They're both sophomores, 2 of the best in that class of sophomores. Julian comes in as the number 1 seed, having won that championship a year ago at Escape the Rock, but that was down at 113, so he's up to 126. I'm assuming he's going down to 120 for the postseason because he wants to be a 4-time state champion, and there's someone named Spencer Lee. I don't know if you heard of him, but he's
probably want to avoid 126.
Right. So, but I like the fact that Julian's been up at 26 competing, where he won the Beast of the East, he won the Hurricane Classic, and now he's a chance to repeat as a Escape the Rock champion, and he's going to do it against one of the best guys in the nation, Nicky Ramos. So, really looking forward to hoping these 2 butt heads. But again, like 120, not a whole lot of Pennsylvania guys here at the top.
No, you drop down. You've got Ben Radner from Council Rock South at number 7 and David Campbell from Boyertown at number 9. But as you said, some out-of-state guys picking up some of the top spots there.
Yeah, Sam Book from J.W. Robinson, Daniel Planta, who I've seen him a number of times from St. Paul's. He was at Powerade. Anthony Ducka from Paulsboro, another guy who's been around for a while. Ben Radner, like you said, from Council Rock South. He's a junior. He's a 7th seed. He's a guy who's been in and out of the lineup for the Council Rock South team. He has been dealing with some injuries, so I'm hoping to see him in competing well and healthy. David Campbell from Boyertown, the one half of the Campbell twins. He's the 9th seed at 126 pounds. The dark horse here has got to be Jonathan Myers from Easton, the freshman from Easton, who's just absolutely incredible in his freshman campaign. His only loss is to Julian Cle Bove. It was by decision 8-3. This guy's he's the real deal. He tore his way through a Cumberland Valley Kickoff Classic Championship. And I'm not going to bet the house on it, but I think he's going to finish above the 10th seed.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to see him yet. I'll be interested to check him out in person, see what he looks like and how he can fare here against some of these out-of-state guys. Yeah,
and I assure you he's gonna perform well. If anything, like his last couple tournaments he's in, he's a pretty solid wrestler, and I think he's going to be a name to watch in years to come. The big news at 132 pounds has to be Brian Courtney of Athens, who drops down from 138, where there was that log jam of talent with Max Murin and Cole Matthews. So the triplets, if you will, are no longer together, with Brian dropping down to 132, which I'm not terribly surprised at. Are you, Eric?
No, not at all. We had talked to him a little bit about the weight whenever we had him on the show earlier, and was didn't give us a clear-cut answer there, but not real surprising that he's dropped to 132.
So Brian's the number 1 seed here at 132, the Athens area state champion from a year ago. Number 2 is KJ Fenstermacher from Northampton, who surprisingly, he was a champion here last year when he was at Liberty. He was a champion at Escape the Rock. He was a state third last year. Very talented wrestler. He's going to Pitt. Brian Courtney is going to Virginia. Number 3 is Jacob Campbell from Boyertown. He's also a senior. He was a King of Mountain runner-up. He's a guy who's been around forever, like his twin brother David. 1, 2, and 3, all from Pennsylvania. Pretty solid 3 to go with. But number 4 is Mark Garofalo from Colonial Forge. Again, I feel like these guys just keep on multiplying. These Garofalos from Colonial Forge. I swear, there's 19 of them. But yeah, he comes in as the 4th seed here as a senior. But again, I liked some guys down below. Luke Landefeld from North Allegheny comes in as 7th seed. I thought he wrestled amazing at the Powerade tournament. He beat a slew of top-ranked guys. Job Chisco was one of them, and he really came on to his own. I thought he really broke out. Matt O'Block from Cannon Mac, he's a 9th seed. Now, surprisingly, Matty O'Block, and we talked about this on the Inside the Whippeal Wrestling Circle on Monday, Matty O'Block beat Caleb Morris from Waynesburg, who was the Powerade runner-up. And Matt did, he was I think 7th or 8th at the Powerade. So here's a guy that if he competes to his abilities, he could upset a few guys here, and I'll be interested to see how he's able to compete.
Yeah, as you said, it's a pretty loaded field, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me too much if he was able to move up a couple spots from that number 9 seed that he's entering the tournament with.
138, the hometown guy here, Zach Trampy from Council Rock South. He's a senior. He's won this a number of times. He won it last year. I don't know. I don't know for sure if he won it before, but he definitely won it last year. And he's a former state runner-up. He's a senior, 138 pounds. Number 2 is Danny Moran from Northampton. Now, these two battled at the Hurricane Classic. It was an ultimate tiebreaker match with Zach Trampy coming out on top of that. These two are both evenly matched. Danny Moran is, I don't know if he's undersized for 138 pounds because I'm surprised that he is up to 138 pounds. But he comes in as a number 2 seed here. He was a champion here last year at Escape the Rock, and he was the Tournament OW. So the Tournament OW from a season ago is not even the top seed.
That tells you something about the weight class, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And, good for us, but this is filled with some Pennsylvania studs. Carnell Andrews of Bishop McCourt, he's the 3rd seed. He finished 3rd at the Powerade in a very solid performance for him. The junior from Bishop McCourt. Aaron Rump from Chambersburg is senior. He's the 4th seed. PJ Crane from Malvern is a junior. He's the 5th seed. So a pretty solid talent here for some of the Pennsylvania guys. Oh, and don't forget Zack Hartman from Parkland, who he was a Powerade medalist earlier this year, and he'll be looking to get into the podium. Overall, though, a lot of depth here at 138, or I'm starting to see a familiar trend here.
Yeah, definitely some depth there. A lot of Pennsylvania names at the top and sprinkled throughout. They've actually got 20 pre-seeds listed here, and most of those are Pennsylvania guys. So PA well represented at 138. Yeah,
I'm interested to see Caesar Fountain from Father Judge. He's a sophomore. Tim Harisco from Cannon Mac, a.k.a. Dale Doback. That's his handle on Twitter, Dale Doback. I love that. I'll say that all night. He's the 13th seed there at Cannon Mac. So he had some big wins at the Powerade. So overall, there's really, I look at 138 pounds and I see a lot of early round matchups that I'm going to be tuned into. So. And really, it doesn't get any easier, Eric. So 145 pounds, we got John Pippa of Bishop McDevitt. He's a senior. He's a 2-time state runner-up. He's the top seed here at the Escape the Rock. Do you want to know what he finished last year, Eric?
What did he finish, Jeff?
He finished 5th, and he's the top seed here. Isn't that crazy? I mean, it's like some weights are tricky, and really, I know John did not have the Escape the Rock tournament that he wanted to a season ago. In fact, he had a a marathon of a match with Wyatt Long from Cumberland Valley in the quarterfinals last year. That was a 3 seed versus a 6 seed. John Pippa and Wyatt Long, they wrestled to a 4-4 ultimate tiebreaker victory with Wyatt Long earning the victory. Wyatt Long would go on to finish in second, while John, he actually lost to Zack Hartman in the Constellation semifinals, then bounced back to finish fifth. So he went from one loaded weight class in 2016 to just about the same loaded weight class in 2017 at 145 pounds, because number 2 is Jake Hinkson from North Allegheny. So both these wrestlers competed at the Powerade, and Pippa came away with the highest finish there in third place. But Hinkson is no stranger to success. The North Allegheny Tiger is a 2-time state medalist. Oh, and let's not forget about Todd Lane from Southern Columbia. Probably a name you've heard before, Eric.
Yeah, it's as you said, this one might not have quite the top end talent, but still some pretty deep field here. Whenever you've got Todd Lane at number 3.
Yeah, Todd Lane, he's been banged up. I feel like he was always injured throughout the season. In fact, he missed his entire sophomore season due to that injury. He was a state runner-up his freshman year, and that was. That was saying, wow, we're gonna have to keep an eye on Todd Lane for the rest of his career. Again, he was injured his entire sophomore season, but he bounced back last year, got back onto the podium in Hershey. So I know this year he's looking to continue that success. He was really solid wrestler throughout his young career. But now he's coming in, he's a senior. He's a 2-time state medalist. He's looking to get that third. So he'll be coming in at 145 pounds as a third seed. Some other guys that I'm going to keep an eye on is Tucker Brew from Big Spring. We saw him compete at the King of Mountain. In fact, he actually upset John Pippa at the King of Mountain. So you got the 7th seed here who owns a victory over John Pippa, the top seed. Another guy who has really been under the radar is Devon Britain from Northampton. That's because this is his first time competing this season. Devon was a state qualifier last year in his freshman campaign for Northampton. He's finally back in the lineup after some injuries. In fact, I'm curious because I'd like to talk to Coach Seth Lisa about that because this is his first time back, seeing how he's doing. And some other big names, Aurelius Dunbar from Mercersburg Academy here in Pennsylvania. He's a freshman. He's one of our top incoming freshmen. I'm really excited to see how he competes. Yeah,
this is a guy that I know you've talked about before, and Aurelius Dunbar, and I haven't gotten to see him in action yet, so definitely want to see how he fares here.
Yeah, he's originally from Greencastle area of Pennsylvania. He's competing for Mercersburg. Another guy, Dan Mancini from O&J Roberts, is a sophomore. Tyler Saligo from Belle Vernon, a senior. We saw him compete in many tournaments. Kerry Palmer from Council Rock South, all the way up to 145. He was a state qualifier a year ago. Again, a really deep weight class here at 145.
Yeah, this will be interesting. A lot of Pennsylvania names sprinkled throughout there as well.
One of the weights that I'm looking forward to the most has to be 152, and that's Riley Palmer and Garrett Niehaus. If these two can compete and have a rematch here of the Cumberland Valley Kickoff Classic semifinals, I would love to see this match happen again.
Yeah, this one doesn't have quite the depth that some of the other ones do, but I agree with you. Palmer and Niehaus would be an interesting one to see.
Yeah, like you said, definitely not the depth as we've seen in the last previous weights, but Riley Palmer, a stud. He's a senior, was a King of the Mountain champion at 152 pounds this season. Again, he lost to Garrett Niehaus in the opening tournament at the CV Kickoff Classic, and Niehaus just stormed his way to that championship, and he's really done a lot since then, too. I mean, he finished high on the podium in Powerade as a freshman. Obviously, that's why he's the 2nd seed as a freshman. He's defeated Brock Godson from Belle Vernon, who is the 3rd seed here. He was a Westmoreland County runner-up. And Chris Berry, another guy from Boyertown who I want to keep an eye on, him and Trevor Elfin from Father Judge are guys that are going to be trying to battle on to that podium as the 7th and 8th seeds. So, again, not as much depth per se, but still some high-powered guys here in the top 8.
Yeah, certainly, and as you said, if we would get that finals matchup of Palmer and Niehaus, that would definitely be a good draw.
Now, 160 is where the wrench gets thrown in because, from what I'm told, this is where Eric Hong's going to be going. He's going to be entered at 160 here. Obviously these are only pre-seeds, so these aren't, obviously official seeds yet. But I'm assuming.
Where would you project him to be in there?
He's got to be the top seed.
Okay, that's.
In my opinion, he's got to be a top seed as a runner-up a season ago. Whether this is his first tournament or not back. I'm assuming that's where now the top seed right now is Kyle Cochran from Paramus, who I know squat about. Not a one, not zilch, no nothing on him. So obviously he's a top seed here, so he's doing something right on paper here. And I'm sure Ed Evans and the rest of the Escape the Rock committee there has a good reason why he's the top seed. But at the same token, I don't think Eric Hong could go anywhere other than top seed, having been the runner-up from a season ago. But regardless, he's not listed, obviously, in the pre-seeds because he was just ruled eligible earlier this afternoon. So other names here, Zack Hartman from Belle Vernon. He's the second seed. I really harped on him for wondering why the heck he wanted to go up to 160 from 145, but it certainly paid off for Mr. Hartman because he loves the lift. He's in the gym. We were able to talk about that on our podcast on Monday. Zach looks great at 160. I saw him win the Westmoreland County tournament in pretty dominant fashion. So he comes in as the second seed there. Josh Stillings from Penridge, who's currently ranked number 1 in the state. He comes in as the third seed. Josh is a junior from Penridge. I really like the way Josh wrestles. He's sort of a journeyman. He's been everywhere, wrestled everywhere. So pretty excited to see how he fares, especially if Eric Hong's in this. Because really, if Eric Hong comes in and wins this tournament, I think he definitely deserves that number 1 ranking in the state.
Yeah, he's got the track record. It's not like he's a guy that we don't know anything about and we're just waiting to see how he performs. Assuming that he's in shape to come in and wrestle a tournament, he's going to be right at the top.
Yeah, and like I said, I spoke to his dad, and I was asking about the practice and how that's been. He's like, look, he's been able to practice every day. He's been in the room every day. He just can't compete. So, he's in there banging heads. I mean, so it's not like he was sitting on the sidelines waiting to be tagged in here. He's competing in the room, and he's getting better in the room, especially with some of those guys in there like Jake Hinkson and the Hoover brothers, all those guys. And so I'm thinking that he's probably going to come out just where he left off, really, in my opinion, coming out and having success. And like I said, runner up here last year. I think if he gets in here, he's probably going to be the top seed in my opinion. So 160 is one that we're definitely going to keep you posted on. 170 pounds, your boy Jacob Oliver from Huntington. He's down to 170, and he's the second seed to Ryan Carley from Malvern, who was formerly of Blair. He was a Walsh Ironman runner-up this year. He's the top seed. So this is his first time competing in Escape the Rock, having been at Blair before and now at Malvern. So he's the top seed with Jacob Oliver, the state champion from Huntington, as the second seed here at 170.
Yeah, Oliver is a proven commodity. I believe he got hurt at the Escape the Rock last year.
Yeah, he did.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he battled with Austin Belle in a pretty decent match, and his shoulder just ripped out. It just literally fell out when they were going at it, and he was, it was the craziest thing, and he was like trying to put it back in. He's like, no, I can go, I'm good. Like he just seems like he's a guy I do not want to run into in like a dark alley. I don't know. I just get that. I just get that vibe from him.
Yeah, you could see from how he was trying to wrestle through that pain and deal with it, and still able to come back and win a state title in AA. Tells you a little bit of something about Jacob Oliver.
Yeah, definitely don't want to run into him, ladies and gentlemen. So, steer clear. So, again, I like the way Jacob wrestles. He's always in your face. He's always go, go, go. He's never out of match. He's very aggressive. He has heavy hands. He's always using his, that strong tie up there. So he's the second seed, having been a runner-up here a season ago. Another guy, St. Paul's Dale Tisong,
Tiongson, yeah, we saw him at Powerade.
Yeah, who we saw at Powerade,
and he's a guy that can put up some points.
Yeah, I was really impressed with him, the way he competed at Powerade. This is I like these St. Paul's guys, St. Paul's, Maryland. They're always competing in a lot of Pennsylvania tournaments, so maybe that's part of the reason why they're so successful. Looking at some of the other names here, Cade Moisey from Northampton is the 5th seed from Northampton, so I think he's got a shot to prove his worth. Ben Root from Solanco is an 8th seed. He's a junior. And some other guys, Blaze Kansko from Canada Mac hasn't quite won a championship yet this season. I know he's looking to. He's a senior at 170 pounds, so seeing how he can compete. So maybe not as much depth overall as in some other weights, but 170 is certainly fun, especially if we can see Oliver, competing with some of those top guys.
Yeah, it's always a good for me being a AA guy. I love to be able to see these top guys like a Jacob Oliver who's in AA and doesn't always get as much attention as some of the big school guys. It's fun to see them go up and compete against these guys and show that, hey, we might be from a small school, but, we're still pretty good.
182 has got to be one of my other favorite weight classes, and that's because Michael Beard from Malvern is going to be the top seed here. Love Michael Beard. Think he's just a phenomenal wrestler. He's a good person as well off the mat. I'm really excited to see how he comes in and compete here at the Escape the Rock tournament. We saw him at the Ironman tournament. He tore through that bracket, winning that tournament. He's a returning champion from Escape the Rock. Last year, he won by major decision, 14-5 in the finals. Really just tore through that bracket. He got, I think it was 2 tech falls and a fall to get into the finals. He defeated Greg Harvey and just destroyed him. And he's been doing that for a long time. He hasn't stopped. He hasn't slowed down at all whatsoever. So, it's a tall task there with Michael Beard. But Drew Peck from Chambersburg, he's fared pretty well in his senior year. Drew's actually, unfortunately, he can't go to Brown anymore. He was committed to Brown, and I don't know if you read that or not, Eric, but he was. No,
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he was committed to Brown, and for some reason they rejected his application somehow because of something he disclosed, like that he had been suspended or something along those lines. Wow. During his sophomore year or something for having a cell phone in school. From what I gathered of it, it was pretty petty. And clearly a very intelligent. I mean, I've talked to him on several occasions. Really intelligent young man, and very, carries himself very well. So he's actually back on the market right now. So this is going to be a good chance for him to come out and show what he's about. I know that's sort of an unfortunate circumstance that he was in, but Drew has a chance to come out and compete with some of these top guys. He was actually 5th here last year at Escape the Rock, so he's going to be looking to improve that. But another guy is Miles Lee from South Philadelphia. This is a guy who's recently took up wrestling in the last few years. He's tremendous in freestyle. He was great at Fargo, an All-American there. He drops down to 182. He was at 195 for most of the season. He competed at Beast of the East. He's the 4th seed here, first time down at 182. So I'm excited to see how he gets whether he gets the job done. And Frank Guida as well from Parkland. We saw him, and he looks like a football player. He's huge. Do you remember seeing him?
He is big. I remember watching him at Powerade, yeah. And I didn't know who he was at the time. I was just kind of watching a match in the back gym that caught my attention, and it was Frank Guida, and he definitely looked. He's a tank. He's a tank.
I mean, literally, he's a tank. He's pretty intimidating. So he's the 8th seed there. You got Elijah Jones from Boyertown as the 10th seed. Ethan DiRenzo from Easton is the 13th seed, and Paul O'Neill from Penridge is the 14th. So a lot of tough guys here at 182. Definitely a little bit of a deeper weight class here, and there's a lot of non-PA guys here that are scattered throughout. But 182 is definitely one I'm looking forward to. Another one, I feel like a broken record here, but 195. I mean, can these guys ever get away from each other? You got Jake Woodley, Cole Nye, and Anthony Walters. I mean, this is like...
and none of them are the top seed.
No, of course. They got John Borst from Sharondo. I'm going to have to do some homework here.
John Borst. He's from Virginia. He was a runner-up at Fargo.
Okay.
I do remember him.
Okay, that's pretty solid. Runner-up at Fargo.
Yeah. I do remember him. Yeah, he did very well. To be honest, I heard the Flow podcast talking about him, Christian Piles, being a Virginia guy. and talking about Borst. And, yeah, he looked really good. He's a Virginia Tech commit, so definitely some talent there. Man, what a weight class this is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, you throw in Jake Woodley there, who himself is a two-time Fargo All-American from North Allegheny going to Oklahoma. Then you got Cole Nye, Bishop McDevitt, returning state champion. He's going to Michigan State. Then you got Anthony Walters, Bishop McCourt, who was a state runner-up last year, comes in at a 4 seed. So all three of these guys were at Powerade. All three of these guys finished on the medal stand. Jake Woodley, obviously, on top of that, finishing in the top position. So, Eric, this sounds like another one.
I mean, he was really tested by Walters there. So, I mean, there's not a big gap between these guys.
No, and I don't think – I mean, I think he looked very sharp in the finals against Gavin Hoffman. Jake Woodley did. But that's not to say that these guys – him and Anthony Walters they were in a tight match there at the Powerade. And really, I mean, either one, all three of these guys can come away with a championship. Considering what the guy from Virginia, he's obviously pretty good. But Walters finished in 4th place at Powerade. Nye was 5th, and Woodley was the champion there. So clearly, some pretty strong power there. And then you got Blake Barrick from Big Spring, who's always been on the cusp of making some noise. He's going to be in there as well at 95. So, yeah, we're going to have to watch some film here on John Borst here and see how
you'll be impressed. I bet you'll come away impressed.
Yeah, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I do remember hearing about that name on one of the podcasts that Flo did about him and being a pretty Virginia Tech recruit because he's a senior. So. That's pretty good. So 220, two guys that are familiar with them, each other. They've competed in the same tournaments, Josiah Jones and Joey Doyle. Josiah Jones from Bishop McCourt, state runner-up. Joey Doyle, a state medalist a season ago. They'll be both competing here at 1 and 2 seeds here. Billy Korber is a 4th seed at 220 pounds, and Nathan Frayer from Parkland is the 5th seed. So, do you think Josiah can get his championship? Because he hasn't had a championship yet this season.
He really impressed me. I know he didn't get the championship at Powerade, but he went toe-to-toe with Noah Adams from West Virginia and was right there. I mean, it went to tiebreak, and he came close to not only getting a reversal, but a pin at the buzzer. I don't think he had it. I'm not saying he should have. But it was close to coming out and knocking off a guy who's one of the best in the country. So I don't think there's any doubt that Jones is at that level that he can win a title. He just needs to do it.
I was very impressed with him at the Powerade. He came out, he beat Francis Dugan 3-1, and he almost knocked off Noah Adams. It was 2-1 in tiebreaker. So he was right in there in a match that most people pretty much almost called Adams a lock. Over Jones. And
I would have, even though I know Josiah and I've covered him for years, I would have thought that he would be a pretty heavy underdog in that one, but he was right there in it.
So obviously Jones is going to have, some his hands full here with guys like Joey Doyle from Council Rock South and Billy Korber, who he faced at the Powerade, winning that match, a close one. Some other names that I think could end up making some noise. Ian Enfield from Laurel Highlands. He's a junior. I think he's going to, and it's curious because we talked about him on the Whitfield podcast on Monday, is he's the only guy on Laurel Highlands team. So,
I saw him at the Sheets tournament. He was at Mount Aloysius at the Sheets tournament and won it there. Looked really good. So he was an interesting case. I didn't realize that he was the only one on Laurel Highlands, but I knew it was a pretty small team.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm like 95% sure.
I think you're right. Now that you say it,
he's the only guy.
I think he is.
So it's like, who does he practice with? Who's he roll around with? I'm not sure. But he's a guy that, like you said, he won the Beach tournament. I think he could make some noise here, make a name for himself as a junior. But let's end on a good note here with 285. I don't think there's been a year where I've been more excited about heavyweight than 2016 and 17. Just my opinion, because I don't know if it's just like it's anyone's game, it's anyone's chance here to win the title, but in the state at least. But Brandon Furman from Canamac is the second seed. Seth Janney from Malvern Prep, he's the top seed here at the Escape to Rock. Seth is a very talented wrestler who was a state runner-up when he was here in the PIAA competing for Southwestern. But he was a Beast of the East champion, and he defeated Nico Camacho from Becca, who he avenged that loss that he had to him at the Ironman tournament. So, we'll see if he can carry that momentum forward with him into the Escape to Rock in 2017. But Furman's a guy who, we were a little bit questionable about how he was going to, fare in the finals of Powerade last year or last week, and competing against Ronald Tucker. And my gosh,
yeah, made me look kind of foolish. I said, Tucker's too good. Wanted as a freshman, back as a sophomore, and Furman pins him in the finals.
Yeah, and he sort of looked at you too afterwards and sort of like smiled. And, when he
it was
did
the
you see
Power Sox that did it.
It was. And do you see him flexing? That was to you, Eric. Hey, Eric.
Come on, he loves me. The Furminator.
I don't know. We'll find out. I'll ask him this weekend if he loves me.
Maybe I'll keep my distance.
All right. Seth Janney, on the other hand, he was a Escape to Rock runner-up a year ago. He lost to Jordan Wood in the final. So, but he's up to heavyweight this year, and I think this is going to be a good test for them, because Furman placed at the Beast, and Seth was the champion there. So clearly two guys that are close in competition. Derek Devine from North Allegheny is the fifth seed. Not a whole lot of other big Pennsylvania names at heavyweight, but I'm really excited to see those top two guys, Seth Janney and Brandon Furman. Yeah,
Furman is a guy that you kind of turned me on to earlier in the summer, and we saw him at Super 32, and he's just continued to impress us as he's gone along.
Yeah, I agree with you, Eric, and I think it's going to be a great tournament, one of the best in the state. I think it's provides a unique look at some of these top teams, and I know tournament director Ed Evans does a terrific job of bringing in the top talent year in and year out from not only Pennsylvania but across the nation. Obviously teams here from Virginia, Tennessee, New York, some pretty notable names too as well to go along with those top teams. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Northampton fares. I know they're wrestling a tough Becca team right now, so interested to see how that pans out. But really, Northampton's they haven't had 10 wins in the last 3 years, and now they're undefeated and in the top 5 in the state. So I'm really interested in talking to Seth Lisa about that. And I will warn you, Eric, he's a Mountaineer. Seth Lisa is. Okay, so you're going to be, this is 2 Mountaineers, and that's why you're being dismissed, and you're no longer, your services are no longer needed. Okay.
All right, I'll let you handle this one.
I appreciate it, Eric, because there's, us Mountaineers, we stick together. Okay, especially for guys like you who went to Pitt. So, but yeah, I'll talk to Seth Lisa and pick his brain a little bit about the Northampton guys and coaching that program, the Concrete Kids historic program. So, joining us now, special guest Seth Lisa, the head coach of Northampton, the Concrete Kids. Coach, how are you doing tonight?
Great, Jeff. Thanks for reaching out to me.
Absolutely, Coach. Well, we were talking a little off air here. This is a busy time of the year for you. You got Becca tomorrow. You got Escape to Rock this weekend. I mean, talk about how crazy this January schedule is for you.
Yeah, this is, it kind of feels like we were talking before. Our season feels like it's clumped up into January here. We start off with two good tournaments in December. We go down to the Beast of the East and the Liberty Bethlehem Holiday Tournament, and then once we get into January, it's 2 dual meets during the week and an event on the weekend. So we've been busy. So kind of tough from a training, rest standpoint, but the guys have been doing a great job.
Now, you actually just came off of a pretty solid weekend coming in to the CV Winter Duels. You guys have been going there for a while. But you went in there and wrestled some of the top guys in the state, McDowell, Cumberland Valley, Northern York, and Boyertown. And you guys came away with an undefeated record. I mean, you wrestled some tough bouts. That 33-29 match against Cumberland Valley, the host team there. Talk about what was so great about your lineup this past weekend, and the resilience that you guys showed against some top guys.
Yeah, that was a great weekend for us all around. They just started to bring back their junior high duels as well, and our junior high team went 4-0. So as a program in general, it was outstanding. We had a bunch of parents come down and stay over Friday night and, have the opportunity to go watch all the matches. But, for our high school team, I was just impressed with getting wins throughout each part of our lineup. We have a good section of very tough wrestlers down at the bottom, and then we kind of thin out a little bit. And, in that Cumberland Valley dual meet specifically, we were losing matches at weights that we normally win. And we had some other guys be able to step up big time and, get a win for us.
Yeah, like you said, there was definitely KJ Fenstermacher dropped a close one to Wyatt Long. He's a senior as well. Just tough guys there. So, what does that do for the confidence of this team dual season wise? Because looking back on years, I don't think you guys haven't had a 10-win season in a couple of years now. I think looking back at the records, what is it different about this season and this team that all the pieces are in place?
I'm not really sure. It feels like you're always putting in a lot of time and a lot of effort to try to help these kids achieve their goals, and sometimes you come up short and sometimes you're successful, but. We've had our eye on a pretty large group of kids that have been traveling through our program since, young age up through, one of our elementary programs and feeding into our middle school. And, they've been having success along the way. And these guys are starting to filter into our lineup. And it's definitely giving us, a general improvement on the balance we could have from top to bottom. And I think that's starting to show. And, wrestling with confidence is important, and I think you could see that.
It's funny you say that, Coach. We had KJ Fenstermacher on the PA Power podcast several weeks ago, and I was saying if only you guys could just get some, gain 30 pounds. What if you or Danny or KJ, one of you guys gain 30 pounds? Because like you said, you sort of thinned out a little bit, but it seems like those upper weights are battling tough and doing what they're supposed to do. Like Chance Wandler and those guys up there, getting wins where you need them to, and not giving up the bonus points. So, looking at obviously tomorrow is really the highlight in the dual season for you, going against Becca. Coming off that Cumberland Valley Winter Duels Championship, how's the momentum for the Concrete Kids coming in to take on Becca?
Yeah, they've been a nice couple days of practice here, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of tension or anything. The guys are loose. They're having fun, and I would say Becca's probably a different animal. And nothing against any of the teams that we competed against, but these guys are super talented from 106 up to heavyweight, right. And you got to be ready to go. They pretty much put a pounding on everybody they've wrestled. So. We understand that, and we also understand that we have nothing to lose. So for me, I just like to see them go ahead and fight. Go out there and have a fight and see what you can get, because there are no expectations right now. So we've been wrestling well. If you can go out and battle, I could see us getting a decent amount of wins, or I could see it going south. But if they go out there and fight for 6 minutes, I think that's all we could ask.
Right, and I think that's absolutely true when you talk about just going out and battling, going toe-to-toe, because like you said, they're a different animal. They're obviously, the hype of the state and the nation, really. So you have nothing to lose to going against a team like Becca,
sure,
who's solid throughout, but you guys aren't too shabby either going out through. Talk about that sophomore class that you have right now, and because I remember a couple years back, looking at it, I'm like, wow, Northampton, they're going to be solid. They got a ton of tough guys coming up through the program. Obviously, Julian Cle Bove leading that way, winning the state championship last year as a freshman. But you have other guys in there, Michael Kistler, Devon Britain, who we haven't seen yet in the lineup. But talk about that sophomore class and how they've progressed from that freshman year to now their second year.
Yeah, these guys, hard workers, love the sport of wrestling, talk to you about wrestling in and outside of the room. So it's good to have guys, like those three, that are interested in the sport almost just as much as you are, and that builds good relationships with your kids and, builds relationships that last a long time. So it's fun to have these guys around. But like I said earlier, about the group of kids that we had our eyes on, Devon, Michael Kistler, Julian, even Eddie Tumper goes into that class up there. Logan Niehaus is the year ahead, but these guys are all kind of, the lead of that group of kids and, kind of paves the path of pretty good success moving forward. So we're definitely happy with the leadership that we get out of this young group. But, everybody has challenges and, it's not all parades and celebrations, but they're doing a great job. And I think just enjoying the sport of wrestling is important because wrestling is incredibly difficult and time consuming. So if you don't love the sport, you're going to have a really bad time, so they enjoy wrestling. And I think that's a really good thing.
Now, it's funny. I was talking. I do a podcast with the Whippeal Inside Wrestling Circle, and my co-host, they were talking. He said, "Is Northampton back?" I was like, "Well, I don't think they actually went anywhere. I still think they're pretty solid. But I guess the perception is across the state as well. Northampton. Obviously, you were part of that. Graduated in 2001 from Northampton. You were, I think, 3-time state medalist, state runner-up as well from."
Yes.
I think you and Gino from Easton, you guys battled, right? Is that?
Yeah, we had a bunch of matches going through pretty much all the time.
All the time, right?
District regional and state matches. It was exciting.
I don't mean to bring up harsh memories. I don't want to rehash any of that with you. I just wanted to make sure I had my stats right. That you were, obviously a very successful wrestler for the Concrete Kids.
Just make sure you don't do it again.
I'll make sure, and that's coming from, and that's from a West Virginia, fellow alumni. We're on the same page, Coach. So
I'm just kidding.
So Northampton, obviously historic program, historic in District 11, the state and the nation. Do you feel like now, 2017? Wow, do you feel the momentum? You said you had a lot of fans come with you, the junior high program coming in with the CV Winter Duels. Is there a lot of excitement around the Northampton program right now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Supporting parents. We bring good crowds to our dual meets. And I think after, the past couple of years, District 11 in general, I started to kind of pull a little bit of power back, in my opinion, as far as, the Whippeal success that had been happening for so long. And, I think the community, the wrestling community in District 11, needed some, momentum and maybe some state titles coming back and things like that. And last year there was a lot of success just with all of the schools. So, we're seeing a lot of gymnasiums packed. I know it was a packed house at Nazareth. It was a Nazareth Easton dual meet at Nazareth. It was crowded arena. We had Parkland the other night, and the stands were nearly full. So I think wrestling people are excited in the Lehigh Valley, and hopefully, we can try to, steal all that power back maybe.
Yeah, absolutely right. And it's
tough darn thing to do, but
sure.
That's the idea.
That's the idea. Well, you got a nice crew to go with there. Now, after Becca, so you got Becca tomorrow, and then you turn right around and you have to go to Escape the Rock, which is probably one of the toughest tournaments on your schedule, up there with Beast of the East. So talk about the Escape the Rock tournament. What are you looking forward to most? I know last year you guys had a lot of success. Danny Moran won a title. Julian Cle Bove won a title. And I thought Devon Britain battled well, and those guys as well. So talk about the expectations for Escape the Rock now that we're getting into January, and the season's almost to the postseason. So it's hard to believe that it's going that fast. But what are the expectations going into Council Rock?
This is an awesome tournament. Sil Perry and Ed Evans and the staff down there do a great job every year. So good applause for those guys just for hosting a terrific event. Our team moving forward, the goal is to win. I mean, I don't know why you're out here if you're not trying to win. And I know the goal is to be champions in March, but you know what? You want to go out there and put your best foot forward. And as a team, we had a lot of success at the holiday tournament. Why not do it again, in our opinion? I mean, somebody's going to come out of here with a team title. It could be us. Who knows? It could not, but why not?
Right.
So go out and do the best you can. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But it comes back to that whole fight idea. Just go do the best you can, and we'll see what happens.
And you talked about that power struggle between the Whitfield and the Lehigh Valley area. The Whitfield will have a few solid programs there as well. They're going to have Canamac, North Allegheny, and Belle Vernon, all pretty solid teams in the Whitfield and AAA. And you're also going to have Easton there as well. So are you excited to see? I mean, because you're going to start seeing those matchups with the Whitfield and District 11 guys going at it. Are you excited to see that kind of matchups?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to get our eyes on some of these, North Allegheny and teams like that. It's just good to see them compete in a tournament and see how, it may look moving forward. I mean, there's a lot of scouting going on too when you're getting to these big events, and you may see these teams later in the year. So it's great to see, those programs coming in. They're all the kids are well coached and a lot of history out of them. So it's always fun to get, I'm glad Easton's coming down for the first time. So, every part of the state maybe kind of wrestles a little bit differently, and you get to touch those different styles, and, everything you do now prepares you for the end. So it's always good to get good competition.
Coach, how excited are you to be are you in your fifth or sixth year head coach now? 2011 you were hired.
Sure.
I think 2011.
Right. Yeah, so this would be 6th year.
So, how is this ride for you been taking over your high school that you went to and you were so successful at, and now you're guiding these young kids along the way? What's it been like for you just guiding this program in the direction that you want it to go?
I mean, it's a roller coaster. You're coming out, you get hired, and all of a sudden the mindset is, man, we're going to win the state title next year.
Right.
You're going to work hard. You're going to do this and that. And then all of a sudden we're like 6-6.
Yeah.
So it puts you in your seat again. It's just like, I think wrestling's really good because no matter how tough you are and you go out there, people beat you, and that's kind of like a lesson for real life. You're going to catch losses all over the place, and you got to learn how to deal with that, So we've been dealing with a little adversity with a loss of one of our booster club members and a close friend, and Joe Summer.
Right.
And it's a lot of ups and downs. We've had individual success and a lot of highs for those guys, and we've had bad seasons and losses like we've experienced with Joe and some people. So I think all those ups and downs sort of bring our community together. So when it's time to really pull together and try to accomplish something great, we got some good people behind us.
It sounds like the community is just real tight. It sounds like, I know when that happened, that tragedy happened with Mr. Summer there. It sounds like you guys are more of a family than it's a team, and even guys that are not necessarily involved with the program, but maybe involved with the booster club. It sounds like there's a lot of community involvement. Is that something that drew you to taking over that head coaching position?
Yeah, it was a good feeling when, coming up through and you're seeing all the families having fun, and when you're an athlete. And I remember being on the floor of that old arena and looking up and seeing a huge orange section. Not everybody gets to experience something like that, and there's probably, I don't know how many teams you would say have a fan base like that the kids get to experience something exciting and great. So to me, absolutely. It was always a desire to maybe want to come back. And I guess my mindset when I was younger was I want to coach for Mr. Rohn and Mr. Dauber.
Yeah, sure.
The idea is I want to be an assistant for these guys because, they were influential with me. So why not? It looked like a good path. And I guess we were in the right place at the right time, maybe, So I'm excited just that I was given the opportunity, and I was kind of young. That was a lot of trust, maybe, to hire a guy like me. So I'm just happy that they took a little risk, and I got put in the place I did.
Well, Coach, I'm making the trip out to Escape the Rock this weekend. I'm really looking forward to seeing your guys battle. Like you said, just go in there and fight with those top guys, especially some of the top guys, like you said, Julian and KJ, and seeing how they fare. Speaking of Julian, he's been at 126 for most of the season. Is that correct? Is he planning on descending down to 120? There's been a lot of talk about that.
He's kicking the idea around. He's
definitely kicking the idea around. Okay, well, just so we can dispel some things, because Julian's obviously, a lot of people have their eyes on him and how he's been this year, and obviously winning that Beast of the East title, I'm sure had been huge for him. After his freshman year there, taking his only losses of the season there, so I'm sure Julian was pretty satisfied with his Beast of the East performance. Was that the case?
Oh man, he was thrilled. It was like a sigh of relief. I mean, you beat an opponent like Ramo in the final, somebody that's probably I don't know if Julian's ever beaten him before.
Yeah,
so,
right.
You can tell even that can. If I'm going to talk like the kids, that'll give you a little bit of swagger moving forward. And maybe we get a rematch this weekend. It would be fun to see.
Yeah, that's definitely in the works, and that's in the possibility. So, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time out to speak with us on the PA Power Podcast. This is just a crazy week for you, coming off the CV Winter Duels. Now you got Becca, like you said, a different animal, and then Escape the Rock. So, I personally look forward to seeing you this weekend, and wish you most success here.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for reaching out to me. I appreciate it.
All right, Coach, we appreciate it. Again, really appreciate Coach Seth Lisa taking the time out to talk to us before a big match there with Becca, coming off those big wins at the Cumberland Valley Winter Duels, and also coming up this weekend at Escape the Rock. Really looking forward to seeing how his squad comes out and competes. And Eric, I apologize for putting you in time out and letting me handle that interview.
Yeah, it was probably best that way.
You know what? For the fans out there, I'm not really that rude. Eric had some work to do. We both do this on the side, and Eric had some full time. Business, it comes first. So I'm just glad you're able to be here and join us, Eric.
Yeah, as you said, it can be difficult at times to work everything in, so we kind of work around it. And glad you were able to sit down with Coach Lisa and talk with him ahead of Escape the Rock.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm really excited to go down to Langhorne and go down to Council Rock South and see how these guys compete, and especially with some of those big names. And I really what I touched on with Coach Lisa is seeing that mix of Whitfield and District 11, because it's funny, I posed the question on Twitter was which is the best county in Pennsylvania, because Westmoreland County is historically one of the best in the nation, really. And I was getting some pushback saying, well, no, Lehigh, Northampton, these are the best counties. So I'd like to see teams like Easton and Northampton going against guys like North Allegheny, Belle, Vernon, and Catamount. So it's going to be a nice mix of some talent.
Yeah, it's good whenever you can see that East versus West kind of thing, because you don't get a whole lot of opportunities for that. Pennsylvania is such a great wrestling state, and you do get some some battles that go across the state geographically, but not a whole lot. So it's nice whenever you can get those matchups.
Well, we will keep you posted on all the action from the Escape the Rock tournament going on this weekend, both Saturday and Sunday. We appreciate Coach Seth Lisa taking the time out to talk to us. So for all your wrestling news, visit PAPowerWrestling.com. Follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. Give us a review on iTunes. And don't forget to visit the PA Power Wrestling store. So until next time, we'll talk to you soon.